Hey everyone, I'm here with you again with the Greatness Glory podcast. Today, I want to talk about the holistic health. And what does that mean is that usually when we look at health and medicine in the modern times, we look at things mostly mechanically. We think, okay, my cause of health issues is only because this virus is in my body or this part of the body stopped working for whatever reason. Maybe it was genetic, maybe it was something else. But really, I don't believe that that's the way that is really the truth, the way that the human mechanism works. And you don't even need to just accept what I say. If you study a little bit about holistic medicine, the ancient systems of medicine, such as Ayurveda, the ancient Indian system of medicine, which I consider to be the most holistic and comprehensive system of medicine, TCM or Chinese medicine, and such systems, you'll see that the way that the human mechanism, the different layers of a human being is investigated is a much, much more holistic and deeper, multi-layer approach. And I want to talk a little bit about that. And I don't really write any, scripts for this podcast, except the first 5, 6 ones that I generated when I started this podcast. I tried to keep it more structured, but I want to just give you uh, some good also insights and techniques, maybe practical tips so you can apply to your life. So let's talk a little bit about the difference of the way that in the modern time we look at the human body and health and the way that almost all the ancient systems of medicine look at this. Before we do that, I want to say that there's an issue with the collective consciousness that we need to understand, that we think that everything that we were taught, maybe in the school or popular belief of others, or even the so-called mainstream science, we think that's like an absolute thing. And whatever the science says is the ultimate truth. If we don't change this mindset, we could never think, we could never really innovate, we could never discover new things. We would always say, okay, things are this way because a group of people or scientists or even, with religion, religious leaders, they say or they interpret it in this way. But if you think carefully, you will see that any time that a great change happened in the science or in different things in life, with society, with politics, and all those things, somebody dared to question the mainstream collective belief of what most people believe. And you see most of the time, those people, especially in the older times, they were threatened or even executed because the collective consciousness at that time, they wouldn't be able to accept it. You know what? When what's his name, Galileo, he said that the Earth is round, and then what happened to him? And today, some people are trying to retard it back to the same idea that Earth is not round. Anyways, so why am I saying this? Because you need to understand that the mainstream science or the way that we look at things is not an absolute best way necessarily. You have to think for yourself. You have to study different sources and different opinions about the same truth, including the health and human body. Otherwise, you keep being stuck. It always bothered me in a popular belief of modern medicine since childhood. When I heard, they said the so-called incurable disease, science still doesn't have a treatment for this. This saying, this belief is so annoying for me. It's so ignorant that I cannot even tell you the extent of my annoyance about it. Do you know why? Because if you really study deeply, and it might take you years and years of studying different sources, you'll find out in the history that so many of these so-called diseases were healed by some random guy somewhere in some, rural area, or some like Native American Indian, or someone like a medicine man, and people called it like miracles. Or there are millions of records of things like this happening. It's documented. Doctors say we don't know how it happened. If we look at the data, that you have this disease, you go to doctor says, yeah, maximum you're gonna live for 1 month. And a lot of those people that the doctor said, okay, you're gonna die in 1 or 3 months, they ended up living for 10, 20, 40 years. So you cannot think and keep yourself limited and thinking that that science of medicine, modern medicine, is an absolute thing, and there is no the cure for some disease, or things like that. Otherwise, you keep yourself limited. I don't know why would people try to protect a limiting idea. As an example, sometimes in the past, I have been discussing certain ideas with different people, and they insisted hardly that, no, this is not possible. And the only reference they had for saying that this is impossible was because, according to what they learned from the school books and in the university about physics or whatever, this is impossible. But again, I want to bring your attention to this. If Thomas Edison, for example, thought that this is impossible, he wouldn't try more than 1,000 different things to invent the light bulb. That's what they say about him. That was his spirit. He had tried, they say, about 1,000 things and finally invented the light bulb. And when a reporter asked him, even ridiculed him, asking him, you tried 1,000 different things to create the light bulb, aren't you going to give up? And he said, I haven't failed for 1,000 times. I have learned 1,000 ways to not invent a light bulb. That's the difference of people's mindset and approach. So you need to understand this, that you should question things. How many times, if you have been listening to my podcasts, I have talked about the power, the transformative effect of questioning. When you question the mainstream belief, when you question the things that you have learned, other people's or society or family or tradition, they have taught you, and you ask yourself, is there a better way to do things? Is there a better possibility? Then only you can open the doorways to discover something new, to access something different. So I said all these things to open your mind a little bit for what I want to discuss next. Otherwise, if you think you already know everything and anything that is not already discussed in the high school textbooks is nonsense, then you will never be able to access certain possibilities. in the life. And what I'm going to talk about is not even anything, supernatural or anything like crazy. So let's start. As I was saying, the way that the holistic medicine looks at health is different in this way. While the modern medicine, also called allopathic medicine, which is also a product of the, we can say, new age materialistic view of life, looks at the human body, interprets everything in terms of biology and saying, okay, this is just the, molecules and cells of the body, and these interactions create health or disease and all that. But the holistic medicine considers a very, very important and critical part of health, which is mind and energy. The reason that I talk about mind and energy is that unless you address those two aspects as well, along with the biology of the body, the materialistic physical aspect of the body, sometimes you can do whatever you want to create health and cure a disease. And no matter how hard you try, it's not going to work. The way that the sciences of Ayurveda, yoga, and some of these ancient sciences look at the construction and structure of a human being is that body is the product of thought and mind in a way. And we can say that mind controls the body by the medium of energy. In yoga, for example, mind is not considered to be the brain, but a different aspect of us, like a separate body. The brain, we can say, is the command center, the control center, which mind manifests itself. So if we consider the mind to be a database of information and a certain consciousness, when the human body is here and we work through it, then we control the body through the brain and mind, which is not necessarily completely material thing. The reason I say this is to show that your mind, or let's say the brain, operating through the thoughts, let's just call it thoughts. Your thoughts can do the greatest damage to your health, and they also can heal you in a miraculous way. And there have been documented evidence of this a lot. You can go and find for yourself. You can study the work of Dr. Joe Dispenza, the famous book Placebo Effect, and so many other books like that. There are a couple of other good books you can study. One of them is Magic of Believing by Cloud Bristol, and Power of Subconscious Mind by Dr. Joseph Murphy. And these books, they give you a very clear idea of the power of mind over matter, where your mind can heal in a way that no medicine can do, and it can damage you in a way that no medicine can counteract the negative effect of the thoughts. So the holistic medicine looks at this and say, your anxiety, your worries, your fears, and all those things, your hate, your regrets, your guilt, shame, and all those things can create disease. Even in Chinese medicine, you can go and just do a Google search on this. Just say the place of emotions in the body according to Chinese medicine, something like that. You'll find it. You'll see that each organ of the body is related to a specific emotion. For example, liver is related usually to anger and such things. And you see that a lot of anger can create liver issues, and vice versa. We are multidimensional being. In my book Art of Balance, I have explained this, that it's not like you have to control one part of your being, one aspect of your being. We are multidimensional beings, and we can change the way that we are through different means. So if the liver is not functioning well and the heat in the liver is increased, anger in you can increase. And if you increase your anger by your thoughts, the reaction to the life events, the way that you interpret things, then also you can create liver issues. And this is just a very small example of this. Or maybe the relationship between sadness and heart issues. So this is very critical to understand, that your thoughts and emotions are constantly determining your level of health. Usually you see a lot of the people who live in a rural area, it's a popular belief that they say, oh, these people are like much more healthier. People think, okay, that because they're living in some, somewhere in more nature and stuff, which is true to some extent. But if you notice, their lives are usually more simple and less complicated, and maybe they have less anxiety and tension. You cannot compare a person who works in the Wall Street stock market with a person who is, a cowboy working in a farm and having a simple life. Their level of tension could be hugely different. So let's give an example about all this. Let's say you are worried about something, and the worry comes from where? It comes from the way that you interpret the word. In the NLP, neuro linguistic programming, they say every person have a map of word, the way that they see and interpret the word. You might think that Isaac talking here and you listening to this podcast are living in the same world. But this is one of our biggest illusions. We are not living in the same world. We are living in a totally different world. You think that we are living in the same world, but the way that I see world, I interpret it, is very different than you. You see, for example, you might think your cat or dog is living in the same world, but no, they're living in a totally different universe. They see everything differently. They see even the colors differently, hear the sounds differently. They're not concerned about the things that you're concerned. It doesn't have any meaning for them. In the same way, a lot of things that are a big deal for you, for another person might not even have a meaning. They might even laugh at it, and vice versa. So every person is living in their own inner world, the mental image, the self image that they have. So this inner world determines your outer world and your health and your body and all those things. And also it determines how you interpret things and how you react to the outside situations. So let's give a spiritual example. There are some people like Sufis and some bhakti yogis, bhaktas, and devotional people who might practice surrender and devotion and things like that. And then they see the whole world as manifestation of their God, beloved, and they surrender to whatever that happens. They try to not fight it, and they have a good time just enjoying whatever that happens, whatever that comes their way, and so on. And they interpret things and say, okay, even the bad things that are seemingly bad are happening for my growth and for teaching me a new lesson, to helping me become greater. The other day I was talking to a friend saying, I sometimes complain myself about difficulties in life, but I also thought if there is no resistance, if there is no challenges, there is no growth. Think about it. When you go to the gym and you do some other type of exercise, it's hard, but it's causing your body to grow. The same rule applies to your personality and character in life, to increase your patience, to teach you to be less reactive, to let go. So universe keeps teaching us these lessons. I have another video in the short lessons video playlist on my YouTube about this. I recently posted about the life lessons. I suggest you listen to that also. It's a good one. So these reactions that I was talking about are determined by our belief systems. That's why I keep talking about the belief systems and changing our paradigm, the way that we interpret and look at the world, because that's all that determines our level of happiness and our health as well, to a very large extent. I'm not saying that there's no such a thing as a virus causing you health issues and all those things. That's a different topic. But the majority of disease that we have today, they are the product of only two things. I can say maybe 95%, maybe 99% of the disease are created either by lifestyle, which means not moving enough, not exercising, not eating right, and negative thoughts. It's easy to change lifestyle, actually not for everybody, but it's much, much more easier if you try to change your lifestyle, if you care about personal development. If you don't, and if you are one of those people that say, why do I worry about all these things? Let me just smoke pot all day and just wait till this life ends. I'm not talking to those type of people, but if you care about being a better person, a healthier person, a stronger person, physically, mentally, finding self mastery, then you need to work on yourself. You need to work on your lifestyle, the things that I have taught in the book Art of Balance. And you need to also start working on your mind. It's not enough to go to therapy. It's great thing to do it, and I suggest everyone to do it, but it's not enough. You need to become your own therapist. You need to start working on your own beliefs and question the way that you interpret the world, and see how you can change the way that you interpret the world, that to understand that you don't have to fight with everything and everybody. Sometimes it's the best thing is to surrender. Sometimes the best solution is to not do anything, or reducing your sense of significance or ego or whatever that is causing you a lot of issues, and becoming defensive or seeking validation or all those things. So this is all created by the computer in your brain we call the mind. So we can change this mental programming. How you can change it? The first thing that you need to do is to decide to dedicate even a very small portion of your life to work on this. So you would say, okay, I'm going to spend 5-10 minutes a day on this, or 30 minutes a week, or whatever that works for you. It doesn't matter. Just start and do it regularly. Even if it's 1 minute a day, I don't care. It will grow to be much, much more when you keep it up. So how can you do it? How can you change your belief systems and thinking? There are many, many different ways that you can approach this. First, try to educate yourself about different ways of thinking. When you study, personal development books, spiritual books, and such things, your world starts expanding. You start to see things from different perspectives, from more angles of view. You won't be stuck in interpreting and seeing things only in a specific way. And when you study, also don't just be like a computer when you're copying some files into the computer and it's done. Analyze what you're studying, think about it, write it, think about it, and repeat. And in your daily life, try to develop awareness. Try to develop what in the psychology it's called metacognition, which means being aware of your thinking, or let's say thinking about your thinking. So don't go through life being on autopilot. And this is a skill that needs to be developed. You cannot do it overnight. So practice analyzing your own thoughts. One very good practice which you can do is that spend some time every night before going to sleep and review your day backwards, and just go back in the timeline of the day and see what you did, where you were, who you talked to, what was the state of your mind and emotions, what triggered you, and all those things. And if you want to write it down, do it. If you don't want to do it, just do it in your mind, whatever works for you. But this brings a lot of self awareness to your life. The self awareness is the first step to make any change. When you bring the light of awareness to those dark areas that you were not aware of them, you have already done half the healing. So you become aware of your own desires, likes and dislikes, the way that you're reacting to things compulsively, and habits, and a lot of your beliefs and emotions about different people and situation. This helps you tremendously to start interrupting those negative patterns, like the ones that create the negative emotions that cause suffering and bad health, and change them. And you can ask yourself, why am I being triggered by this situation or this person? Or you are overly worried about something, or you have some phobias, let's say. You can ask yourself, write it down. Make sure you write it down and think on the paper. And on the paper, ask yourself, okay, how can I change this? How can I react better to this situation? Ask people about the same situation, that is bothering you. Ask your therapist, ask AI. Don't just blindly receive information from any of them, but like see what they say and see if you can, apply that. Let's say you are overly self-conscious, which is not the good word people use, but you're overly concerned about your appearance, or you're all the time are self-conscious about like, oh, how are people thinking about me and looking at me and all those things. And this takes a lot of your mental energy and bothers you a lot. And write it down on the paper and ask yourself, why am I like this? Why do I care much a lot about this? There are a lot of people that even they're like 100 times less attractive than you, that they don't care about it at all. They're not bothered with, they're just living their life, they're happy. So ask yourself, why do I care about this? When did I first start caring about this? How can I change this? And put the same question to therapist, AI, whatever, your friends, and ask their advice. Sometimes just one line of advice from AI or your friend or whatever can change your life. It gives you a new perspective. So we talked about the power of mind, the way that it affects your emotions and the body organs, and it changes your chemistry. We know very well that if you get angry, we can even test your blood, and 5 minutes after you're angry, we can literally see that you're poisoning yourself with some, maybe bad hormones or things like that. You're creating an imbalance in your chemistry. Today, after many years, the modern medicine is coming to understanding of this, that mind plays a very, very important role on health. Even when you go to doctors, a lot of time they don't have an answer for a lot of the disease and situation. And I have seen this a lot. I have experienced it for myself. I have seen it in friends and people that I coach. A lot of time they try all the different, medicines, different doctors, and like finally the doctor is telling them, we don't have an answer. It's like a psychosomatic disease. It's a stress or something like that. Because your stress and your mind can instantly change your chemistry. And if you keep messing up this chemistry, every day you build anger or hate or whatever, create the poison within your blood and your system and your organs, no medicine can contract or neutralize the negative effect of the poison that you're creating from within. Because how much you think you can put medicine from outside in the body and fix it? Let's say the average person who goes and takes antidepressant, or I don't know, smokes weed or something. If you do it and externally put something in the body and you change the chemistry for a while, and then you keep generating more negativity from within, there's not any amount of external medicine that you can put in the body that can neutralize the negativity, the negative emotions, the hormones that you're generating from within that creates that suffering and bad health. There's not. And this is a very interesting fact about the way that the mechanism of a human being and body works. And after a while, let's say you're smoking cigarettes or weed or something, or taking antidepressant, your body creates tolerance and it doesn't even work. And the doctor tells you, oh, you have to increase the dosage, and you keep increasing the dosage. And in the process of fixing your emotions and your mood, you damage your liver or kidney or something. There's no escape. You cannot just work your way out of negative thinking by drugs. They're just a temporary solution. They might sometimes give you some space, some temporary change to look at things differently. I think a lot of psychologists and doctors also have come to this conclusion that the antidepressants don't fix anybody. It is just that people who are deeply drowned for a long time in a negative mood, when they start taking those drugs, which could be even not antidepressant, it could be even some natural thing, it could be some, cannabis or something, I don't know. They just get a temporary relief to think more clearly, come out of that negative state, and look at their lives in a different way and change it. We had episodes about the powerful effects of psychedelics in the past, which you can go and look up. And they're becoming very famous these days. There are many researchers that show that 3-4 times of using something like psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms, or things like that in a specific controlled way can have a very tremendous healing effect on depression and things like that. And you know why? It's not because that medicine magically goes and fixes things and your brain chemistry. It's because those medicines, since ancient times, they were used to temporarily change your perspective in a very, very phenomenal way. And they have been used both for spiritual reasons, to get out of your current state of thinking and being and see the world and universe and yourself in a different way, as well as mainly actually for healing, to just temporarily come out of that mindset and mood and start looking at things in a different way. And that's why I say, even the antidepressant or whatever it is, they're not going to fix anything permanently for you. Any person who has ever improved using those medicines is because they used it and they got some breathing space They were able to think more clearly for a short time, and then they decide, okay, I need to change these things in my life. Maybe your depression was caused by negative people that you keep, hanging out with them. Maybe it's your job. And after all, the most important thing, maybe it's your thoughts and beliefs and the way that you interpret the world and react to things. And people use that time when they have a relief to think more clearly, write it down, make some decisions, and change their lives. That's the best way to use the medicines, not as a crutch, not as a thing that you will use for the rest of your life because the doctor said, oh, something is wrong with your brain chemistry. You're always a depressed person. You cannot be better. I don't agree with that. And no wise doctor, whether it's a modern medicine doctor or holistic doctor or shaman or medicine man or whatever, agrees with that. Because you cannot just use something like that in 99% of the cases to say, okay, I need to use this for the rest of my life just to keep my mood elevated. Maybe there are some very, very rare cases that somebody's brain is permanently damaged or something like that. We don't want to get into that right now. We don't want to talk about that 1%. We're talking about what is almost the fact and the truth for every single one of us. So the conclusion is that the healing, the happiness, the success, and all those things are the products of the mind. You know, all the great wise people in the past told us the same thing, that your mind, your thoughts create your reality, your body, your health, your happiness. So the greatest investment that one can do in their lives is to change their thinking. If you change your thinking, everything else starts changing in a miraculous way. If you start changing everything else but not change your thinking, it never works. So in this episode, I talked about the materialistic approach to health and body and the mind factor, the effect of the thoughts on health. But we didn't touch on the energy aspect, which is not separate from the mind, but that's also a very important aspect of this. I just want to talk about it for a couple of minutes, and then maybe in the next session, I'll talk more about it. In the past, I had some episode I was talking about chakras and energies and things like that. In some way, I have talked about it, but not in terms of health. But maybe later we'll talk about it. So, for example, some systems like acupuncture, when they believe we have these energy meridians in the body and they use the needles to kind of manipulate the energy in the body. So, this energy is a real thing. Again, you either just blindly just accept the mainstream thing and say everything that is not written in the high school textbook is bullshit, or you have an open mind and you research. This energy is very real. There is thousands of evidence for this, and you can experience it for yourself. There are the currents of energy, just like the currents of blood in your body, in your nervous system, and in your energy channels, which are subtle. They're not completely physical. This is not anything like, again, supernatural. Right now, if you don't know, when you try to move your hand, your brain sends energy, some sort of electrical currents to your hand, so your hand moves. Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever been to like physiotherapy or seen it? When you go there, a patient who has like some issue with some limbs in their body, they connect some electrical currents to their body, and then the body parts start moving by themselves without you trying to move them, because they inject some electrical current into those muscles, and the muscles start contracting and releasing by themselves. That's just a small example of energy. So these energies that your mind through your brain constantly sending to different parts of your body are also determining your health. And for now, you need to just focus on the things I said about changing the mind and thinking. And next time we can go in deeper about the energy aspects of health. So my suggestion to you is to take one or more things from what I said, the advice that I have given, questioning your thoughts and, recapitulating your day, just thinking about the things that happened and questioning them and asking yourself questions. How can I react differently? How can I change? How can I be more happier? And just question all the time, question. And questioning opens a doorway to change. So you can start applying some of those things. And next time we'll talk more about this. Thanks so much for listening.